Okay, it looks like we're on air. There's no terrible technical problems, so we should get started. Hey guys, welcome to Coral Crypto TV, where we get the world's smartest, best crypto guys on. Today we're talking content, and we've got some pretty interesting cats on. Each of these guys has built up interesting and large social followings, which drives the crypto sphere. That's what we're talking about today, how content and marketing drives crypto. So thanks for coming today, guys. I do a terrible job with intros, so I'm going to let you introduce yourself. First, Jose Mata.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Jose. I'm previously the host of Daily Crypto, which is a daily briefing podcast on cryptocurrency news. Audience-wise, it's about 85,000 monthly downloads, but I'm no longer a host of Daily Crypto, so I'm starting my own podcast called This Week in Crypto, which features weekly guests from Dash and Castbox, so kind of the top 10 cryptocurrency companies, and weekly roundups.
And then we've got Kenneth Amaduri, Crushing the Street.
Hey guys, yeah, well, thanks for having me on. Kenneth Amaduri of Crush the Street. Been running the website now for about 8 years, going on 8 years. It's unbelievable how this has evolved. I've always been into investing, always been into trends and sound money. And having done that, I've come across cryptocurrency, and we were fortunate to cover that at a very early stage. We produced a Bitcoin documentary called Banker's Worst Fear in 2013. And it sort of happened like that, right? Last year with Jamie Dimon, it kind of became Banker's Worst Fear to a little degree here. But we got a decent following over at crushthestreet.com. We discussed the trends. And look, I think even in this environment where Bitcoin is $6,000 and there's a lot of blood in the streets, this is the build out phase. So I'm still very optimistic on what's going on with cryptocurrencies, and that's why I'm here.
Thanks for coming. And then we got Peter Saddington, Mr. Bite-Sized Bitcoin.
Yes, so most people know me as Bite-Sized Bitcoin, but we run also Decentralized TV YouTube channel. We're also operators of a small crypto startup of sorts. We're building yen.io, which is the world's first social cryptocurrency exchange. So love for you guys to check it out, yen.io, and sign up for the waitlist. Glad to be here.
So right before the event, Peter sent me a message. This isn't just a Coral shill, right? And I want to start right there. Why is it that so much of crypto has become a shill fest, so to speak, of just people with audiences promoting big and successful projects, primarily because there's a little bit of token incentive or bounty? What's up with crypto and media?
Well, I can jump right in. From my experience, it's quite clear the praxis of how the market, the cryptocurrency market, has expanded and evolved, as Kenneth had alluded to, has moved to the shilling game. And frankly, I think because of many of the constraints that YouTube has created, and for content creators like ourselves, in terms of demonetization, I know that personally firsthand. The reason why we built the Decentralized TV was because Bite-Sized Bitcoin was demonetized, and and our stream was shut down. And then we started Decentralized TV, and then they shut down our Facebook account, our Google account, turned off our streaming. And so I'm no longer able to stream on any of my channels. And so one of the big reasons why a lot of these content creators have gone to the marketing of ICOs and companies is simply to survive. They're not paying great money, but it's certainly better than what Google, YouTube, and all these other platforms are handing out. And so I think a lot of people are just getting to the point of, hey, I want to stay in this market. I want to stay in cryptocurrency. I want to survive, and shilling coins and having that incentive is one of the easiest ways to do it.
When did you get demonetized?
We Bite-Sized Bitcoin got demonetized, I think, in August or September of last year, and we no longer make any money on that, cannot stream. And then we created Decentralized TV, and we've put almost 2,000 videos in a period of about 6 months in Decentralized TV, and then they demonetized us there in March, and they turned off our streaming in April, I believe. So,
damn, Steam it.
The problem is that YouTube right now has the largest captive audience. And so we kind of have to go where the audience is. And the reason for me is simply because my job, the way that I look at my job, is to expand the good news of Bitcoin and blockchain to the entire world. So I care very little about the monetary incentives of being on YouTube. I want to make sure that everyone in the world hears about Bitcoin and blockchain. So that's, for me, if I have to make a third YouTube channel, so be it. We will do it, guys.
Amen. Amen. What about you guys?
So let me jump in. So some of the good things and bad things about this nature in general is that we have the internet, and it's this decentralized platform. And it is cool that even with YouTube, it's much less centralized than what we've had with CNN or Fox, the mainstream media. If you recall, when they started talking about Bitcoin, that was the absolute top. It was this community of YouTube, the alternative media, that really started talking about cryptocurrencies at the right time. And I think that's important to remember, is that we have this opportunity now with the internet, this decentralized platform, to share information, to really level the playing field. Now, there's a lot of obviously misinformation out there, and we have to do our best to filter through that. But I want to emphasize, how powerful that is, how powerful the content creation is on this decentralized platform, and kind of talking about, the boom and the bust of the sector, and then people trying to make money out there. That's actually a very interesting thing, because when you have this financial incentive to create something, to put something out there, it attracts the smartest minds in a lot of cases. It attracts talent, it attracts technology. And this is an important thing to remember when it comes to just innovation in the cycles. I think 2017 was super powerful for the cryptocurrency community, is that, it got enriched in such a big way, and it moved it forward in a way that, we wouldn't have seen had it not gone through what it went through. I was at the North American Bitcoin conference in January earlier this year, when everyone bought their tickets in December at $20,000 Bitcoin. Everyone was at the conference in January. Dash sponsored the event, the after party at a strip club. I mean, it was just Wolf of Wall Street craziness, right? And so, but you just saw how many people were presenting their ideas, saying, hey, I'm going to try to build this thing out. And, that's a really powerful thing here, despite price.
Yeah, going back to Peter's point in regards to shilling and making surviving as a content creator, it is a way sort of to monetize content. So it is sort of natural in the podcast space or even YouTube to have brand deals and sponsorships with these companies. And now that Google, Facebook, and Twitter has banned cryptocurrency ads, it makes it really difficult for any company out there to try to advertise and reach an audience. So it sort of naturally flows on, and I think for the good or for the bad, it spills on to the crypto space. So all the crypto sites, all the crypto content creators, you see them pushing out more ICOs, more coins. So it is new. It is more difficult for other media, to other like ICO companies to get out there, which is why you see them on so many spots. If you go to one site, you go to another site, you see the same companies because you no longer see them on these standard Facebook, Twitter, and Google platforms.
But let's play devil's advocate. So for Coral, we're funding companies that traditionally VCs won't fund, not blockchain companies, but traditional startups. And we're reaching out to content creators and press outlets, basically talking about the story and trying to get some promotion. And what I found is in traditional media, they'll either take you seriously or they won't. In crypto media, they'll say, hey, I don't care, but if you send me a Bitcoin, I'll promote your story, or something thereabouts. And it's like, that's the filter, is money, no money. How do we get around that?
I'll jump in here. I think it's just part of the evolution of this market. I think it's something that we should expect, because for me, at least, I truly believe we are still in very much the experimentation phase of cryptocurrency. Now, obviously, the longer term individuals who have been here since the beginnings, your 2008s, 9s, 10s, 11s, et cetera, they might have thick skins, and they might say, well, this is, it's just the next wave of interest. But I think they might be missing something here. This really is 2017, as Kenneth said, was one of the, in my experience, is one of the best years of cryptocurrency ever. 2016 was the year of the ICO. 2017 was the year of the ICO speculation bubble, right? And we saw the highest level of Bitcoin ever. The experimentation, the amount of the projects that are being built, this is just to be expected. There's lots of money flooding in, whether it be from retail investors, institutional investors, funds, ETFs. Futures are coming. Futures are out. ETFs are coming out. Maybe even ETPs are going to be coming out, in ETCs for some of you guys who know about that. I mean, the money is only flowing. And so what a lot of these companies, these ICOs have to do is they have to deploy that capital. They've received tons and tons of Ethereum. They have to deploy it. They have to show some viability that they're actually moving towards some sort of end product. And for them, they don't have time to filter through all this stuff. And so for them, it's just like, hey, there's these YouTube content creators. They're willing to take a couple Ethereum, a couple Bitcoin for a shill. It's part of that experimentation phase. And I think what we're seeing now is a lot of those individuals who have been mostly just shilling ICOs, they're slowly going away because they don't have anything else to contribute to the community. Unless you become an operator and more than just a YouTube content creator, you're not going to survive very well in this market. And I think that's part of the kind of the ebbs and flows of it. We're going to see new people come in. We're going to see new people exit out from the content creation game. And only those people that have real value to provide to the community, I think, are going to survive. And so I feel bad in a lot of ways for YouTubers who are solely trying to make a living on content creation. It's a rough life. It's a rough life.
What would you say are the top channels right now in terms of crypto, and what's driving the ecosystem? There's YouTube, there's Telegram, there's podcast, there's Medium, there's crypto Twitter, there's other things.
I think it had to be, either the Reddit or sort of the Telegram sort of communities. I think Reddit's huge right now, especially in crypto.
What are you guys doing in Reddit right now to stay relevant, and what are you seeing?
So I haven't actually hit Reddit yet. So that's definitely something that if you're not on, you're probably missing out. So probably, what I do is just talk with the people who join the community if they're looking for something. And it's sort of all the communities out there. As a content creator, if you know something, just contributing to the community, and then you sort of gain reputation in the community as being somebody who helps out. So that's the way I see it as a content creator.
Going back to just 2017 and just that hype, as with my experience here at Crush the Street and just seeing the community out there, anyone that was putting Bitcoin and blockchain, even nobodies, were able to get an audience in 2017, which was actually, it just goes to show the hype of everything. But now we're going into a phase where people don't necessarily want to hear about cryptocurrency anymore. And it's really coming down to fundamentals. The people that, don't have deep roots in it, don't really believe in it, aren't true to the fundamentals, or really building something for real, are going to fall by the wayside. And I remember what it was like prior to 2017, 2014, 2013, 2015, trying to mention and discuss Bitcoin on my platform, and the resistance that I would get. It was so difficult to even get anyone to listen to it. Now, arithmetically, that was the time to care about it, in a $200 Bitcoin environment in 2015, rather than 6,000. Obviously it's still very important now, especially with all that's going on. But from an investment perspective, arithmetically, that was way more attractive, but people didn't want to hear about it. And, we're going to go through another cycle where people aren't going to be excited about cryptocurrencies. And you're going to see that people are going to get frustrated with it. And it's going to really separate the quality projects, the quality ventures that have deep enough pockets. And as far as, promotion and things go, that's part of it too. You got to keep in mind, even the biggest companies in the world, it's all promo. Wall Street, S&P 500, the IPOs that we see, it's all about money and marketing and getting out there and promoting the companies. It's all about that. So I don't think there's any difference in the crypto space than what we've seen for the last 100 years when it comes to the biggest companies in the world. We're going to see that. And we're just seeing it on a much smaller scale here because we've been so disconnected from, Wall Street. But cryptocurrency has brought the investment community down to the regular person. And isn't that a really cool thing that, content creators are making money by being out there and being able to partner with certain projects and say, hey, I believe in this project. I'm being paid by this project. And, I'm going to do whatever I can to get people to buy into it and build this out. So there's a couple ways to look at that. And, again, it's just perspective on what is going on now here in 2018.
And I think transparency is important. We forgot to bring it up earlier. So let's, what are you guys holding? I right now have Bitcoin, Ethereum, I think a bit of Monero, because you always want the hidden money. I'm not sure what else. What about you guys?
Well, I have on. Let me just say this because Jose brought this up about Reddit. See, one of the ways that we stay relevant, one of the ways that we stay active within this community is not to use systems that are built by others. We build our own. We roll our own. That allows us to not only experiment, but allows us to understand what the real cryptocurrency needs are out in the market. So we've rolled our own. We created TheBitcoin.Pub, which has over about 2 million unique views per month. It's just like Reddit, but it's better because it's not full of trolls and shills and censorship. And so we want to continue to create our own products, our own platforms, not only as a mechanism to increase revenue as an opportunity, but obviously to outreach and understand better the community at large. But when it comes to transparency in coinage, the reason I bring that up is because if you go to the Bitcoin.Pub and you type in 2017 year in review, you'll see all of the coins that I hold. Coins from Cardano, Neo, Icon, Ethereum Classic, Bitcoin. Let's see, there's a couple others in there. Dogecoin, obviously, which is the most important coin of all time.
You're worried about building on someone else's platform, but you brought up this will be your third YouTube account. That is kind of ironic.
It is ironic until I can build my own decentralized video platform, which I don't have time to do.
Maybe you'll just be able to decentralize a Google account. That would be interesting if you could have accounts that were untouchable because they were spread out. I don't know how that would work. What about you guys, Jose?
Yeah, as far as what I hold, it's definitely just top 10 cryptocurrencies. Something that's not in the top 10 is basic attention token. So these are just some of the projects that I personally do believe in.
So basically the only product that's SIFT a product. Kenneth?
Just Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum right now. And I sold a lot of it. I sold a lot of my Bitcoin between 10 and 17.5. And I'm buying back. Now I'm buying it.
And none of this is financial advice, guys. If you lose all your money, that sucks. But it's not our fault. So I want to jump in now. So we've got two YouTubers and a podcaster. I want to contrast the differences and then see how you guys also syndicate content to a wider audience. Are you doing both? What's the story? We'll go with Kenneth.
Okay. So repeat the question again. So you want to know the difference between a podcast? Well, I do a lot of interviews on my channel, similar to this, or I interviewed Peter, or we've done. That's what I do. I like to bring people on who are on top of the market, who know what's going on, and share that with people. And obviously that is a great way to reach a larger audience, people who follow other people's work, and then obviously your work. You create synergy in the market, you create relevant content, and you get out there. That's what I like to do. As far as YouTube versus a podcast, I'm not sure there is much of a difference. I mean, obviously YouTube has video format, and a podcast is just, I think you can have a podcast on YouTube. I've called my Crush the Street platform a podcast in the back. And so I'm not sure there's a huge, significant material difference between YouTube and a podcast. But yeah, no, I mean, it's a powerful thing out there. And I'm so grateful, even to YouTube, even though it's a censored environment, we've been demonetized. I'm grateful for what it's allowed me to do.
Are you syndicating across iTunes and all the podcast channels as well?
I have we have an iTunes account, and but we're not really pushing it much. I mean, we're basically on YouTube, and then we have our website which people visit.
You could set it up to do it pretty much automatically. I'd recommend it.
Yeah. So kind of adding on to that, it's the same content just in different forms. And I highly recommend anybody to do both podcast and YouTube, since you're already making the content, and to add onto that, also make a blog post on it. Just take whatever you talk about and turn it into a blog post, and it'll help your site with not only SEO but just bringing more attraction to it. So as many forms as possible, try to re-syndicate your content, and that definitely helps get it out there.
Absolutely.
Peter, 2,000 videos in 6 months, man.
Yes. Yeah, because if you guys have noticed, we push out about 5 to 10 videos per day. This is my full-time job. We take this shit seriously. And so what's great about podcasting is that we actually have volunteers from the Bitcoin.Pub and our community that syndicate all of my content for me, which is fantastic. So all of our videos, about 5 to 10 per day, that are pushed out on YouTube, are also being syndicated on several podcast channels by other individuals who have the skills to do that. And so it's great to be able to mobilize your network and say, hey, if you have a skill in this particular area, do it permissionless. We actually have met several people who, for example, rip all of my videos and load them up to DTube. We also have individuals who rip all of our content and load them up to Steemit. There's one guy, I'm not going to give you his name, but he makes about $300 a month, $300 to $500 a month off of our content on DTube, because he has the initiative, the assertiveness to take our content, rip it, and get paid for it. And that's what I love. I love that he's making $300, $500 a month off of our content, because for me, the money isn't the issue. It's the spreading of awareness. It's the spreading of the message. And so we have several people on Steemit who rip all our content and put it on Steemit and make money off of that. Great. And so for us, it's all about expansion. It's all about using as many mechanisms as possible and leveraging your network. So if you have a network that can make things into podcasts, you have a network that can make a website and host all your stuff for you, let them do it. That's this permissionless system that we're in. And maybe, I've had several people talk to me and say, Peter, why are you letting these people take all your content that you spend hours on every day and make money off it? It's because, well, it's the internet, guys. It's the internet. First off, I can't control them. Second off, I believe, maybe even to a fault, the entire idea of a permissionless system. And if they're spreading the message and they're getting paid for it, they have earned that right. They have earned that money. And so absolutely, whether you're doing podcasts or YouTube, expand it. Expand as much as you can. Find those places that you're good at, whether it's just being on a podcast or just YouTube, or using both mechanisms interchangeably. That's what we're in right now. We're in the expansion opportunity phase. And I think that's going to help us get into hopefully another hype cycle. And because Bitcoin needs to go back up to about $20,000, it'd be really nice to see that.
And I'll just add on to that. Yeah, I have no problem when people re-upload our content. We have a number of websites that feed the YouTube videos that we post, and that's obviously some syndication that's going on our level. But I think it's hilarious when people get frustrated with when they get mad that somebody else uploaded your video. I'm like, that's free exposure for us. Even if they're getting paid or making money on it, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to stop people from doing that and taking your information. I think that's a very positive thing, especially if you're trying to grow your content. It endorses you as a podcast, as a content creator. And so if you can get people doing that, I mean, that's just synergy being created for your brand.
Let's flip that on the flip side, though. So the copyright laws, I do think they are changing. Now, I know on YouTube it's very easy because you guys have your big, pretty face on there. It gets a little bit different when it's a podcast, and even more so when it's a blog. I remember I had an article I wrote one time, and someone ripped it and published it on the Next Web. It got 2,000 shares, and my name was nowhere in there. And it's like, wait a sec. So that's not really relevant, but what is relevant is the change as we create a content economy. What does it look like in terms of copyright? Is everything going to be blockchain tokenized so that the content creators, i.e. the artists, they're getting screwed by Spotify and the labels, make money? What are some of the implications?
I mean, I think piracy is going to exist no matter what. People are going to find a way around it. But there are definitely projects out there that are trying to ID individuals directly to their content, so it doesn't get reposted by anybody else. But I think there's no way around piracy, and I don't really think piracy is as bad as it may seem.
I'm a developer by trade. I'm a developer by training, and for me, open source, the entire philosophy of open source is kind of where I'm coming from in terms of a context. So I agree. I agree with Jose. I mean, it's the internet. It's the internet, and I think that when you try to create constraints and you try to create regulation, you try to create laws around digital copyright or digital ownership or digital stake or any of these terms that are thrown around, maybe I'm just naive, or maybe I'm just dealing with the pragmatic realities of today, which is simply you can't control people. They're going to do what they're going to do. Piracy is going to stay around. People are going to pick up your content, use your face. I mean, I receive emails all the time of people saying, hey, man, I saw you on a Russian ad. It has nothing to do with cryptocurrency, but you had a Lamborghini behind you and they used your face. It's like, wonderful, fantastic. I hope, I hope it was a good showing of sorts. And so for me, maybe I'm a little extreme in the laissez-faire approach to digital rights, but I don't see digital rights as something that for me, just me, that I really care about. This is not something that I need to concern myself with. I think if you do a great job in the market, you create a great brand, you create a great product or service that people are willing to buy, then people will know. People will know, hey, they'll say, hey, that looks a lot like Jose's stuff. That looks like a lot like Kenneth's stuff. I can see the resemblance, or I can see that they used a similar, a token or idea or design. If you do a great job in the market, I think your efforts will show. But then again, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe I'm moving into a naivete here.
I tend to believe that the libertarian approach, the free market approach, a lot of it is governed by morality. And just like Peter was saying, there is people are going to see eventually who the content creators are, and if they're not producing original content, not that they'll discredit it, but eventually the credit will go to the people who deserve the credit. And I mean, you're not going to be able to completely get rid of that sort of piracy that's out there. But I'm optimistic that cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence, we're going to have technologies that protect people's content, that puts a signature on what content was created by who. And especially as we have computers getting smarter and smarter, out there now, they're going to be able to infer, decipher, and probably bring to everyone's attention, like, hey, this is not original content. This is so-and-so's content. And we might not be very far from that, where, it'll pop up on your computer screen that says, hey, this was created by somebody else. And who knows, maybe that will start to solve things. But I don't necessarily think we need more laws to do this. I think the free market's going to say, you know what, there's a need out there to protect people's content, to protect people's rights to the content. And I believe technology is going to start to fulfill that need in however that might manifest itself.
So what you see a lot of times with platforms is they'll take whoever they can get initially to get the early traction. So it's typically the people that are doing bad things, the people that are selling drugs, the people that have porn sites, etc. That's all of these payment processors initially made money, was the ones who could not get paid otherwise. And after starting to become successful, like YouTube's doing, like Google's done, like Facebook's done, they start to kick people out because, wait a sec, we don't need you anymore. We have real people. It's kind of happened a bit with crypto and YouTube. And that's been happening a lot with platforms. What are your thoughts on the future of platforms versus self-hosted or self-controlled stuff?
I think people don't like, the way that platforms. So for Peter, YouTube is censoring your content. You're demonetized. For Reddit, it's definitely censored. So I think it's good to have your own hosted content that's sort of on the outskirts of having to rely on a centralized medium. So if it's in the podcast space or in the video space, just being able to, get the true stuff out there versus being censored on other platforms.
But if you're going to get 100 times the audience on YouTube, do you play with fire?
Yes. The answer is yes. You pick and choose. You pick and choose your battles, and you pick and choose where the market leaders are, and how you can utilize them to your advantage. It's at the end of the day, and I think Kenneth, you could probably resonate with this as well, since I know you don't give financial advice, but you also help people understand the financial markets. I bet that you could say this, Kenneth, is that people don't do diligence. People don't buy a coin or they don't buy, Ethereum Classic because they did a lot of research on it. They did it because their friends bought it or someone that they trust bought it. And I think that trust factor when it comes to, let's just say, purchasing cryptocurrencies in this particular use case, transcends centralization. It transcends decentralization. It transcends all the philosophical the bloviations that we can talk about. No one cares whether it's from a real pragmatic reality, from the praxis of how people buy and trade cryptocurrency in this use case. They don't care if it's centralized versus decentralized. If they really did, then everyone would be up in arms around Coinbase because it's a highly centralized system. And yeah, there's people that give us shit about Coinbase being centralized and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, people want to use what is usable. And at this current point in time within the cryptocurrency ecosystem, the centralized systems that are there, frankly, they're just more usable. It is a harder stack to build a decentralized system upon right now with the current tool sets in place, and the expertise and the know-how isn't there as well. And so what we're going to see, I'm hoping in the future, is that more decentralized applications, more self-hosted platforms will grow. That's what we're trying to do, right? We've built the Bitcoin.Pub, we've built Coin Puffs, we've built Yen, we've built 10 days of Bitcoin.com. We've built all these platforms because we know that's where the world is heading, is to operators who want to build their own systems and get away from these centralized systems. But at the same time, I mean, you kind of have to play ball in both. You just have to use the ones that work right now and grow, hopefully learn and grow from them to build the right solutions for your particular market niche.
Is the world going there, though? We have the people that are most anti-government, most anti-centralization currently in this movement. And even they are, a lot of the times, too lazy to use the decentralized version.
100%. People, and that's exactly the rhetoric. That's exactly the bipolarism of the fanatics and dogmatists and purists in the cryptocurrency community, is that they hawk a lot of, let's stay to the philosophical principles of Bitcoin, immutable code, decentralization, immutability, censorship resistance. And we great. I started hearing that when I got into Bitcoin in 2011. But at the end of the day, what is usable will be used. And so I think what we're going to see is we're going to have what I'm hoping to see is that operators finally put their money where their mouths are. They put the rubber on the road and say, hey, look, I can complain about this or I can build something. What my brother and I have opted to do is not complain about the centralization and the philosophical conundrums of the day. And we decided to put our axe to the grind and just build shit. So that's what we're doing.
It kind of reminds me of what the coin developers are dealing with. And if you consider, some rogue coin out in Kazakhstan that wants to be completely decentralized outside of the controls of the Western laws, outside of AML and KYC, their market might only be, I don't know, $10 million, $20 million. But all of a sudden they're thinking, okay, well, I might be able to 50x my market if I surrender some of that decentralization and comply with AML, comply with KYC. And as long as the system works, that's just it. It's the balance of the system. As long as it works, people will comply. And until they have a reason for it not for them not to. And I mean, you can look at smaller countries like Venezuela, Argentina, and some of these countries where you're seeing a complete disruption of their financial system, and they're completely trying to opt out. They're saying, hey, our system doesn't work, so we have no choice but to use cryptocurrencies. But for us, here in the US, where we're dealing with normalcy, we're going to go with what works. So that's kind of how I see that. I agree with Peter in many ways, but I would also say that YouTube is a step in the right direction compared to what we've had in the past. The internet has brought us into YouTube. I mean, I'm a nobody that has an audience now because of YouTube. So, from a glass half full perspective, I'm grateful for that.
Do you think people are more tied to YouTube or to the YouTube creators? So let's say you guys disappear and I'm a fan. Do I find someone else or do I come with you to Steam it or whatever it is?
Oh, well, I mean, I would say it's a little of both. But your audience in YouTube is largely there. I mean, a lot of people are searching you, finding you on YouTube, and you have that synergy of just millions of users on YouTube. YouTube's high on the Google searches, and so YouTube's a good place for that. But I don't necessarily think they're tied to YouTube exactly, but I mean, if we really change things up, we would have to start over in some degrees for sure.
Well, if we look at the current opportunities that exist that are competitors or different options from YouTube, like your DTube, the platforms just suck, right? We have Library as well, which is a decentralized crypto asset where you can store stuff decentralized all over the place. All right, I mean, the user experiences just suck. And until the user experience, the UI, the UX improves from a decentralized stack, then people aren't going to use them. I remember having a conversation with maybe it was with you, Kenneth. I forget, but I had a conversation with another streamer, YouTuber, and one of the topics was, and I brought it up, was that people trade privacy for convenience. That's one of the essential praxis or kind of axioms of life when it comes to the internet is you trade privacy for convenience. And so, yeah, is YouTube sucking down all your information? Absolutely. Is it highly convenient to use? Absolutely. And so right now, within this particular stage of our building, of what we're doing, we will gladly trade privacy for convenience. Now, I think there's going to be a point, and I think Facebook has kind of chipped away at this a little bit, is there's going to be a point where people are just fed up. When people hit a threshold and say, you know what? I am willing to use a tougher system, a less friendly usable system, because my privacy has been invaded so much. And so I think we are on the cusp of a new revolution of thinking in that people are considering now what privacy they're willing to give up for maybe less convenience if that's a choice. And so I'm really excited to see what 2019 is and moving on to 2020 is going to bring in the privacy, not only the privacy coin sector, but the privacy industry itself. Because I think people are getting woke. They're realizing that, hey, you know what? It is ridiculously convenient to use Facebook, YouTube, Google, et cetera, Twitter, et cetera, LinkedIn. It's easy to use them. But you know what? My privacy is becoming more important to me now. And I think that type of change of paradigm is beginning. And I'm excited to see what will emerge from that technologically.
Because Facebook got us Trump and made us hate our lives more or less. That's the manner that social media has been going. So I want to transition a little bit. We've talked about products. We've talked a lot about marketing, UX, UI. What would you say is the split? Let's say we actually start to get crypto products that A, work on the back end, B, don't suck on the front end, and C, have decent marketing. What are our splits looking like in terms of importance between those three? The back end, how it's built, decentralization, yada, yada. The front end, how easy it is for your mom or your grandma to get on. And then the marketing. Guys like you guys, or even more so on large-scale media networks, pushing the message.
I think what we're seeing right now is a dying down of the marketing. And the reason I say that is because marketing in 2016, 2017, and moving into 2018 has been so hyped, especially with the ICO growth, the influx of monies coming into the cryptocurrency community. And so I think marketing has been done. I think people have experimented on marketing. What does it look like to market your ICO product, your new project, your new product? What does it look like? We've already gone through that round of sorts. One thing that is a small aesthetic, but I think it's important to note as a use case or an example here, is that we've seen white papers significantly improve from 2015 to 2018. White papers have changed fundamentally. They have color now. They have graphics now. They have more marketing-esque type of like flow charts. And so that's one small example, but the white papers have improved. The marketing has improved that white paper. Now you can get what we call a light paper, which is only like 2 pages long. And so the marketing has been done. The problem is the back end and the front end still sucks. And I think what the best market leaders will do, is they will hide the complexities of the back end from the user and establish a really solid UI UX. And that's what we're doing with Yen.io. We are specifically spending so much time with the infrastructure and architectural layers to ensure that we're hiding the complexity from the user. In many cases, we're hoping that people will use our crypto exchange in the future and they won't even know that they're interacting with the blockchain. I think that's in many ways probably one of the next horizons out there.
I completely agree with Peter. I think the back end is essentially the most important part. It's, probably more than 50, 60, 80% of the product. If you don't have a back end, you don't have a product. But what we've been seeing with these, coin shillings and ICOs is people do the marketing first. You get all the marketing done, you get your, pretty white paper. What you see now, most white papers have mostly text talking about the industry versus actual complexities of the product and how it works. But that's what we've been seeing in 2017. A lot of marketing first and then build the product. But then hopefully this year and as we go, we'll see sort of which companies fall off the grid.
Yeah, so it's going to come down to quality, right? The fundamental growth of these companies. And it's still going to be everything. It's still going to be the marketing. It's still going to be the fundamentals, the front end, the back end. In 2017, we saw a lot of the big companies enter blockchain, right? IBM and some of these other companies really legitimize blockchain. And I think when we have these on-ramps that make it user-friendly, and really give people a positive experience with blockchain, I think we're going to continue to see it build out. It's still like that stigma, right? That libertarian, sound money, anti-government sort of deal that we have with cryptocurrencies. And so it's going to be difficult to get the conventional wisdom, the mainstream to jump on board to this. But they are jumping on to blockchain. They're jumping on to this idea of this decentralized ledger. And so I think that's going to continue to build out. And as that builds out, as the conventional wisdom continues to swallow this entire sector, it'll be a slow build. And I think that's going to happen. And technology is signaling for this. The need for alternatives outside of your conventional centralized system are signaling this. And, the 2008 crisis, where we dealt with these major problems, signaled for a new monetary system. So it's happening. I think it's going to be about all of it, but it's just we don't have that hype anymore. We don't have the wind at our back. So it's really going to take solid entrepreneurs, people that have deep pockets, not just people that are getting rich off the hype, but people that are have deep pockets to invest in something that they really believe in. And that's what it's all about, investing in good ideas. And because if you don't, you're going to lose that money. Again, 2017, you could invest in anything and make money. But we're getting into a phase now where bad ideas are going to destroy capital and good ideas are going to reward investors. And that's what it comes down to, is rewarding good ideas. And that's how I see things playing forward.
Good execution. The idea doesn't matter. Execution is everything. That's what I see way too much in the crypto industry is most people don't get it. If you start a startup, you're going to change direction 100 fucking times and you're still going to be wrong. And the team's gonna rapture, they're gonna break. You have to have vesting, because if people don't have vesting and one of the founders leaves, it's all over, because suddenly you're building half of someone else's house. And there's just so many of these little, these are the stepping stone things that the little kids in startups figure out that the crypto industry still has to figure out, in my opinion.
Absolutely. The crypto industry is still a green bean. It's still a green bean. It's still a noob. It's okay, guys. We're going to get there. We'll mature beyond the 15-year-olds who give us their weekly ICO tips.
That's the hope. Now, what we always hear is asking, okay, what year is this in the internet? We're not going to go there. Instead, what I want to see is, I want a prediction from each of you guys that's bold and unrelated to what the other person says. So whoever goes last, you better be thinking really hard. We'll let you go first, Jose.
Prediction for when when we'll see like
any type of prediction, when we'll see adoption, when your grandma will use Bitcoin for the first time, when you'll be able to walk into a grocery store, something tangible with a timeline.
Okay, as you know, as something where my mom will be using cryptocurrencies, I don't see for another 5+ between around like 10 years will become, you know, a day-to-day thing. At least 10 years.
Okay, we'll check back with your mom in 5 years if we're still here. Kenneth.
I think in the very near future, we're going to have chips in our heads with advancements in AI.
Say it ain't so, Kenneth.
I'm not saying I'm for it, but this is going to be the ultimate surrender of privacy for convenience. And it's going to be we're going to be it's going to be a singularity ultimate world. You know, it's going to happen. And we'll be spending Bitcoins with our brains. That's my prediction over the coming years.
As long as we don't see Facebook ads in our brains. What timeline? You forgot a timeline. That's very important.
Timeline. You want me to put a timeline on this? I don't know, man. Oh, how about 15 years, 15 and a half years?
You guys suck.
Okay, Peter, you're up.
I don't want to live that long to see adoption happen, guys. You guys lack imagination. You guys lack imagination.
I think it could happen, man. I'm talking about the spending Bitcoin in our brains, though.
That 15 years, man. If it happens in 15 years, then I will. I think I'll leave America. Well, we're hoping that we're going to allow Jose's grandmother and Kenneth's brain to be able to transact more easily, hopefully in the next year or so. And the reason I say this is because I'm just shilling my own shit. Let me be honest. We're building Yen.io, the world's first social cryptocurrency exchange. We're going to make it easy for anyone to get into cryptocurrency, and it doesn't look like an exchange. It looks like Facebook. It looks like LinkedIn. It looks like a tweeter. And so it's a very non-aggressive UI. It's a very intuitive UI. But enough of my own shilling. Let's talk about something that is really bold. I see the future to be entirely decentralized. What we are experiencing right now is one of the most fascinating experiences in all of humanity. We are seeing decentralization and self-organization work without a centralized authority. And you say, well, where is it working? It's working in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the prima donna, the mothership. It is proven that you can bring hundreds of thousands, millions of people all over the world decentralized to agree. How is this possible? How is this possible? And so we're living in an experimentation phase that is working. I think when I have, you know, terse conversations with Bitcoin no coiners or Bitcoin, you know, anti-Bitcoiners, it's like, look, bro, we are seeing an experiment being played out by our very eyes. There's no centralized authority. There are people who are agreeing all over the world, transacting all over the world, and they're doing it quickly, efficiently, and it's not killing the planet. And so at least, you know, some of the mainstream media would like to say that Bitcoin mining is killing the planet. Okay. Whatever. We'll do solar mining on the moon sometime later. But I believe that the world is going to be moving. The entire world will be decentralized. And what we're going to find is it's going to emerge is going to be tribes rather than geopolitical, land areas where people say, I'm from the US or I'm from Canada. And I think we're going to see a merging of tribes and these self-organizational units. And I'm hoping to see that in the next 5 to 10 years, in that the world will continue to move towards decentralization. Some of these big conglomerates of these big entities, these big centralized structures will be broken down, and people will figure out how to build better systems. Yes, in their garage, just like me right now, in your garage, that at a fraction of the cost. And so what I'm hoping, this is more of a hope, am I projecting my hopes rather than what I think is going to happen. But the next 5 to 10 years, the world will be certainly more decentralized, and we'll have more power in the masses than in the few.
You will have to leave where you are living if you want to see that happening sooner.
Bro, I am ready to move to Malta. You let me know.
We'll let you know. We'll see if we can set up a crypto island there. Guys, thanks everyone for coming on. We talked about shill, so I'm going to shill a little bit. So Coral, basically, we're funding companies that VCs won't touch. If it's not a $1 billion business, a VC doesn't give a shit. Banks aren't going to fund you unless you've been around for 2+ years and you're willing to put your house on the line and hold a gun to your head. They won't do anything. We're funding companies that are building awesome businesses that have traction and want to shoot steroids in their muscles and get bigger faster. If you're interested, coral.io. We also have some other interesting stuff that I can't tell you about, but if you go there, you'll find it all out. And who's up?
Well, cheers, everybody. Thanks for setting this up. It was awesome to be able to discuss cryptocurrency and the future of this together. I think this is just the beginning. We're in a age now that we're seeing so many things develop. I mean, things are moving faster, and technology is outpacing Moore's law in so many ways. And it's such an interesting thing. I'm nervous about what to teach my kids, about what's going to be relevant in 20 years. But that's why we do what we do. We stay on top of the trends, we stay on top of the information, and we follow it closely. So if anyone wants to visit my stuff, they can go to crushthestreet.com, sign up for the newsletter, and we post there all the time, every day. Got a lot of great contributors.
Yeah, pleasure to be on here with the community. I think something it's a small world out there, and I still think the crypto community is pretty small. So I still believe I'll be seeing you guys at conferences in the future, since it is a small world. But for listeners out there, I think you should feel comfortable reaching out to any of us. If you have any questions regards to crypto. And for me personally, you can check out This Week on Crypto on any podcast app. And it's basically a way to catch up on what's going on in the crypto space.
Absolutely great to be with you guys. I've already shielded yen.io, TheBitcoin.Pub. We are just in the beginnings. Jose said that we're small. We are small but powerful, Jose. We are small but powerful. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. This has been a ton of fun. If you like this, you want to find out more, I do some stuff outside of crypto as well. So fringe.fm, we look at exponential tech in the future, some of the fun from this, and thesyndicate.vc, funding angel companies and looking at early stage startups, not necessarily blockchain. But last but not least, coral.io, guys. If you need funding for your company, make sure to check it out. That's the last. My computer is about to die. So everybody, let's have a great day. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Ciao.
Here.